Hello and welcome back with me, Admiral. Joining me back on Star Trek Fleet Command as always. So joining me at the moment with the Centurion in the background, or the Romulan ships, because we are today going to be talking about Romulans and the way that they are. Don't forget, this is the new series called Ship Talks, and what we do is we're just going to pick a faction or pick a topic of pretty much any topic of interest, and we're just going to talk about it. However, before we get into today's video, what we are going to talk about a little bit is me being absent for the coming weeks due to my job. So basically, from the end of this week, so from Sunday or Monday morning next week, I will be getting deployed because I will be going to do vaccination duty. So that is dishing out vaccinations to the UK general public. So I will be going to do that. I'm not entirely sure how long it's going to be for. I will keep everyone updated as best as I can over on Discord. So if you haven't joined Discord, then I recommend going to join that because that's where the updates will be. Other than that, hopefully everyone sticks with me for this coming period and doesn't unsubscribe or anything. However, there won't be any content for the foreseeable future. There'll be one more video after this video this week, and most likely be a stream. But other than that, that will be the end of the content for this, basically the coming future. And then once I return, which again I'll let everyone know on Discord, there will be obviously more content coming then as well. So, like I say, hopefully everyone sticks with me and sees you through this time. But let's get on with Ship Talks. I just thought I'd let you know that information before we crack on. So, Ship Talks this week is going to be about the Romulan ships. As you can see, I've just got the Centurion in the background because why not? I'm not entirely sure what that one is, but yeah, sure. So, if we load up what I've sort of pulled up on Google and on other pages. So we're just going to talk about why Romulan ships are basically what type of ships they have, why they're coloured green, why they're so big, just basically everything about Romulan ships, which is sort of a feature of why they're green, stuff like that. Why are they green, for example? Not a lot of people might know this, but we'll find out right now. So Romulan ships, on the other hand, well, their ships are supposed to be massive, powerful warbirds, and they made their warships the colour of their own blood, which is why they are green. In this case, the colour of blood is green, so they would be instinctively inclined to associate the colour green with violence. Just like we associate the colour red, because obviously our blood is red. Also, another one is why are Romulan ships so big? The reason, because they are very big in comparison to the other faction ships. They are very, very big. The ships were built large and sturdy for combat survivability, but also for the intimidation factor of decloaking a ship the size of a small starbase in the center of a contested space. So that is basically for the intimidation factor. That's essentially what it's for. And to be honest, that makes perfect sense for the Romulans, because that's exactly what they try and do. And to be honest, it's not far off what the Klingons kind of do as well. They want the intimidation factor as well, and as much firepower as possible, due to the nature of them being like a war-driven faction. But then, as we come to this, we'll come to this page, which is just the fandom page. So shout out to whoever created this type of page for us to have a look at. But as you can see by the photos at the front top, you might be thinking, why is there a D7 class in here? And that's actually because the Romulans used the D7 as well. So, which obviously in game it's called the Bortus. But on this, obviously everyone knows it's the D7. But yeah, they actually used it within as well. The Romulans actually used it as well as the Klingons. And to be honest, this is something that could be added to the game. Just reskin it so easily, and give it to the Romulans as an alternative ship. it'd be so easy to do for them as well, like super easy to do. And then you've got an array of different ship types that they had. They don't have anywhere near as many ship types as the Federation did. However, they've got a handful. They've got obviously birds of prey being the main working ship. Birds of prey, which I believe in this context is basically, if you look at this one, we do not have this variety, which is the 22nd century variety. We don't have that variety. However, we do have, I believe, the 23rd. I think this is meant to be sort of a remnant of the Gladius. It's kind of like it, I guess. I don't think it looks perfectly like it, but it is kind of like it. I think that's what it's meant to be, but we don't have the other variety of bird of prey. And to be honest, that something like that could definitely be added to the game so easily. There's also different types as well. So you've got Romulan interceptors. So they're the normal warbirds. Not warbirds, but they're their normal birds of prey. So they're faster vessels. They're the quicker, more robust vessels that go out and do their scouting and stuff like that as well. And then you go on to like some of their different variety of ships. So obviously we've got this in game. Obviously everyone knows this. So we have got this in game. So we don't need with this ship. Like I say, it's already been added. This is a warbird from the 24th century. So it just shows that we are getting some ship, but not everything. They also use the D7, like I say, which is the Borsus. They did use this ship and this vessel. They used this in the 23rd century warship, originally designed by the Klingon Imperial Fleet, before being used by the Romulan military during the late 2260s. So they did use this vessel, and to be honest, something like this, just given to the Romulans, could just add an extra dynamic, because it's so easy to do. You could just reskin it. And then they had the Romulan drone ship, which, if you've seen obviously the episodes, then you'll understand what this drone ship is. It has a really big gun on the front of it as well, or weapon system on the front of it as well. Minimal crew, and it's just a pretty cool ship overall. We do have a ship that looks very similar to this in game. But I'm pretty sure it's not this ship, and it's certainly not within the Romulan Empire or type lineup of ships. So this is something else that could be added early on in the game as a different type of ship to go for. A drone ship, with different weapons and different abilities potentially. And then you got Romulan interceptors, which is no picture for this one, unfortunately, but they started to get used in the 2372. So unfortunately, there's no picture, so they could just make up something for that. It doesn't need to be amazing. They could just make something up. Then you got science ships. Obviously, you got the different science ships. The thing with the science as well, something I was thinking about the science ships and how you would incorporate them in the game. And a science ship to be incorporated into the game is actually pretty simple when you think about it, because when you incorporate a science ship into the game, when you look at most other games that have basically ships in them and what do them ships do, I know they're not a mobile-esque game, and I'm thinking more of like 4X style based games. However, it's something similar could be added to this game. So if you had a science ship, if you had that based on, I don't know, a certain node, if they invented a new node, or a certain, if they had it at a certain station, or something on the lines of that, then say that science ship gives a boost to research by 10%, or on the, it would work better if it was a node. So it would give a boost to science research speed by 10% if it was on said specific node. And to be honest, that's something that they could add literally tomorrow. Just add a node that is called a science node, or whatever they want to call it, science data, and it doesn't mine anything on that node, because that's not what it's there to do. It doesn't mine anything. However, it just sits on the node, and for however long you're on that node, you get 10% research speed. Obviously, if you get destroyed and get kicked off that node, then obviously you lose that 10% research speed. And obviously, people will be fighting for them nodes, which then would incorporate more and more PvP into the game. But the difference is it would be understandable PvP and not just pointless and mindless PvP because you're fighting for the nodes. It would be a lot better. The only issue I could see with this is don't put all well the only yeah don't put all the nodes in the same system. Spread them out around the galaxy so you only have like maybe one node in every system that they have, and just stick them in like literally 50, 60 systems. So there's plenty to go round, but then. Well, I say plenty to go round. There's not going to be plenty, but if you only have one ship, then it's not as bad. Um, but they could add hundreds of nodes in various systems to do with, because there's plenty of systems in the game. They could have like 2 nodes per system or something. But the only problem, because they put them all in one system, I could definitely see a faction, it becoming like a faction sort of. This is our system, and that alliance would basically anyone that strays with it. It'd be like territories. Anyone that strays within that would get obviously kicked out. Or alternatively, they could put them in territories as well as the other nodes in territories. Instead of having some territories with like dilithium that no one minds, tritanium which no one minds, parsteel like no one minds, rip all of them nodes out and put research nodes in them, and then allows that alliance to get onto them nodes potentially. The only, like I say, the only downside of that is if you're not in a good alliance, then you would lose out, which is unfortunate. But then it would force people to try and join better alliances, and it would also force people to try and go for the territories, which I believe is a little bit of a stalemate subject. So there is that. So moving on from the science ship and what I think could be added into the game with regards to that is we've had that ship, we've had the warbirds, and we've got this ship as well. So this ship is kind of weird. This is it is a bit of a weird ship. It is a warbird style vessel. It's called the Tal Shiar, which obviously everyone knows is the Romulan sort of mental thing. Um, but yeah, it's pretty cool. It's something that else could be added to the game, like mid to high level, because it is another warbird. It is from the 24th century, so it could definitely be incorporated in the game, and it's just different. It just looks slightly different to the other, Romulan vessels. It looks pretty cool. I think it could definitely be incorporated in the game. I don't know what class it would be because it doesn't really state. The problem with the Romulan ships, they don't have classes like the Federation do, like interceptors, battleships, dreadnoughts, so on and so on. It's more. This is just called a warbird. Presumably, their warbirds are their battleships because they all look pretty big and they're all pretty robust. And then you have their birds of prey, which are more like their sort of interceptors. And then obviously a few other vessels which would incorporate their obviously explorers and so on and so on. Then you've got the Scorpion class. The Scorpion class is a bit of a different sort of different bag. So the Scorpion class is, it looks to me like it's some form of a fighter. Just pull it over there for you to see. So it's like some sort of little fighter, and there's no reason why bigger vessels, like think of things, like the Augur, things like going up to like the Tribunes, stuff like that. There's no reason why they can't have a weapon system. Instead of having their weapon system just generic and just being energy or kinetic, why don't they have especially if they were going to incorporate like a carrier-esque sort of thing like the Federation use. The Federation use different forms of carrier-based things, which their attack abilities would be obviously to use obviously ships on board that vessel. There's no reason why they can't incorporate this onto like the Augur, for example. Instead of take off one of the energy weapons and then just incorporate a fighter sort of tag, which would work exactly the same as the kinetic or the energy, but obviously in visuals it would actually be a swarm of little fighter ships or something that come out and obviously deal damage to whatever ship you obviously are going against. I just think it would be cool to add, cool to see, and it would just add again another dimension to what ship is good against certain ships. So that's something that they could add Scorpion class, little vessel, fighter vessel. That could definitely be added to the game. I don't see with any issues. And then they've got little scout ships that they could definitely add into the game. There's no reason why they can't add little scout ships into the game. This could be a quick, fast-moving vessel. Again, this would be early on, it seems, but a quick, fast-moving vessel. It doesn't have a huge amount of firepower, but it's ridiculously fast. Like in terms of warp speed, it would be really fast. In terms of, it would be faster than probably interceptors in normal space as well, due to the nature of them. However, they wouldn't hit extremely hard. But they would have, I would put on them, because they're pretty much made out of engines. Scout ships. That's the point of a scout ship, and what you can do with it, what we can do with it, is essentially a feature not like the Discovery, not in terms of its sport drive technology. However, in terms of its how fast it gets to a certain space, like put its warp speed at like 20. You know what I mean? It'd be ridiculously fast in warp. It can go really far as well, like obviously once it's upgraded a little bit, but have its base range obviously pretty high as well, so it can get you to them like sort of outer reach sort of worlds pretty quick, and at least it'll have some firepower, but it most likely won't be able to do missions and stuff in that way unless it's obviously low end missions. However, that's something else they could add if you just needed to go and do missions where you're not attacking any targets. This is something that they could definitely add into the game, like literally tomorrow, and there's no reason why they couldn't incorporate that into the game. And then they've got they've got ships that we've already got in games. They've got the Valdor obviously type. You got the O's warship, which again is slightly different. And just excuse me 1 second. And we're back. Okay, so sorry about that. I had a really furious phone call come through. But yeah, so you got O's warship, Warbird, which again is another cool looking sort of ship. It's slightly different, and it'll be more in the thing with the Romulans is they really do like their battleship style esque ships. But again, this is just something else they could add. That's the dorsal view. So again, it's very similar shapes that we already have in game. However, it would add a different ship to the game. You could add this, in between level 30s and 40 level ships. No question about it. That could be added into the game. Or even put it as a mission where you work towards that type of ship. So you have to, like an event, and that event unlocks that ship or whatever. But the problem with the events that I have in game is you don't actually unlock all of the ships, and it's all the blueprints that you need for that ship, and it's kind of annoying. And then you have to go back and do it again and do it again in the future. It is pretty annoying. And then you got the Romulan Workbee, which is just a little thing that could be added. This is a maintenance. It looks like it's some sort of maintenance ship. Auxiliary craft used by the Romulans. This feature central forward, external lighting, 2 control arms, so on and so on. It looks like it could be used as some sort of repair sort of esque thing, which again could be incorporated into the game in forms of a health ship, in forms of a medical ship, in forms of, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, type of ship. It could be incorporated, and it has little swarm drones that come out and repair ships within a radius of that vessel, which again we spoke about in the last episode of Ship Talks, with the Federation using some form of medical vessel of some form. Let's just get rid of that advert. And then, so yeah, it's something that could definitely be added into the game, and I don't see why it couldn't be. But yeah, it's something else that could be done. So I hope you enjoyed this week of Ship Talks. I apologise for obviously not being able to put any content up from in the future weeks. However, my job does come first, unfortunately, and life in general obviously comes first. But I hope you enjoyed this week. Please leave me your thoughts down below of what you think of the Romulan ships, what you like about them, what you dislike about them, what you want to see in game and what you don't want to see in game, whether you like my ideas or whether you don't like them. All that type of information, put them in the comments down below. The more comments you write down below, the more the algorithm helps me out, and more allows people out there to see the channel more and more. Also, if you hit that like button as well, then that also massively helps the channel out as well, especially this video. And also, don't forget, always hit that subscribe button, and that is the biggest form of help that you can give me right now. And I will see everyone next time. Bye bye for now.